Let's start with understanding bullying itself and how it is distinguished from other forms of just abuse and mistreatment. So, the CDC tells us that to understand bullying, we have to know that it is not an accident. This is intentional aggressive treatment. It is intended to be intimidating and or cause emotional or physical harm to a person or their belongings. So, stealing somebody's backpack and throwing it in a trash can, or this is a form of bullying. Social bullying, actually more prevalent among girls than boys, but this is when we are spreading rumors, telling lies, um, sharing embarrassing personal information. It's a form of social intimidation. Something else about bullying: it has to be, or at least have the potential to be, repeated. So let's remember that when we go on to talk specifically about cyberbullying. It is or has the potential to be repeated. Um, Next, it involves a real or a perceived imbalance of power. So, a real balance of power, an example would be, okay, that kid's bigger than me, or I'm one guy and he always shows up with 10 of his friends, or even she's more popular than me and everybody's afraid of her and does what she says. Those may or may not be real, but it is definitely a perceived imbalance of power. Finally, bullying is always one sided. If it was two sided, it would be a conflict. Not that that's not a problem, there's just a different way to handle it. So let's talk a little bit about that big B word. I have worked at a school site where we were not allowed to use that word with the students. Why? Because it carries a legislative or legal firepower. Schools are absolutely required, and we'll talk more about this in a second, to address instances of bullying. Therefore, we weren't allowed to characterize treatment as bullying unless we had really run it through this sort of litmus test for whether or not it was bullying. And we didn't want to give the kids the power to be using this language with each other if it wasn't, if we didn't know for sure it was bullying. Let's move on.